Yo, what's good, YouTube? So y'all read the title. This is going to be a little bit different from my normal videos. I'm not going to be showing y'all how to make a certain type of beat or anything like that. The whole point of this video is sharing with y'all all of the things that I learned on my journey of being a music producer and the things that I did to balance out the rest of my life with developing this business of music. Also, just to kind of give y'all a little bit of an idea of what it takes to have successes in this field while also doing something else full time. So I'll just start off and talk a little bit about myself and kind of what my journey was like, so you have an idea of where I learned these things. So right now I'm 22 years old and I just graduated from university with my degree in civil engineering with GPA honors. And at the start of me going to college, I pretty much had zero accomplishments in music. Honestly, I really wasn't even a music producer at that point. So let's backtrack a little bit. I started off making beats in about 2018, but I didn't really take things seriously until 2020, around the time that I graduated from high school. So I knew that I was going to college. I was for sure going to get a degree in something. And when I was in high school, I just ended up picking engineering. At this point in time, it was 2020. The pandemic had just started. All the lockdowns and everything happened. I knew from when I was younger, I wanted to do something in music long term if I was able to financially. At this point, I graduated from high school, which means I wasn't doing any of the extracurriculars I was doing, like playing basketball, which is the biggest time commitment for me. With this free time and also with lockdown, I couldn't really go anywhere. I couldn't do anything. So I was like, you know what? Let me start making beats, and I just want to be consistent. In 2020, I had 0 followers. I had made my Instagram account that year, and I had made my YouTube also. Well, I think I had the YouTube account, but I started uploading type beats and stuff in 2020. Needless to say, I was not a good producer at this point in time. So eventually I got to the point where I started making content for my beats just so I could get my name out there and just get my brand out there passively. And what I mean by that is I wouldn't have to actively network with people. It was just something I could put out there, and then if people found me through YouTube or Instagram or whatever the heck I was doing, then cool. That was kind of the whole point of it. My beats from back then, y'all probably could go see my tutorials from back then. They weren't any good. But the fact that I stuck with it and I applied these principles that I'm about to tell y'all, that made it possible for me to not only get my degree in 4 years, but also have this YouTube following as a part of it. So pretty much all the things I'm going to tell you are the things that I learned along the way and applied, from literally having 0 following and absolutely no motion as a producer to somebody who actually turned this into a business. So the first thing I want to cover in this whole process is being able to assess where you're at, know where you're at, and also where you want to go. So let's start with being able to assess where you're at as a producer. The first thing that you got to be really honest with yourself is, how good are you at this point? You want to assess the things that you're good at and find the things that you're not good at. When I started in 2020, I was horrible. I mean, I kid you not, I think at that point I'd maybe made like 30, 40 beats in my entire life over like the course of 2 or 3 years. So I was not good whatsoever. At the beginning of the journey, I knew that I wasn't really good at anything, and I just knew that I had to just get better at beats no matter what. So my solution to this was I was gonna make at least 3 beats, ideally 5 beats every single day. And I think that started in May of 2020 and it stopped around June, July of 2021. So every single day I was trying to make 3 beats from scratch. Some days I was making up to 5. And with this, the whole point was to just get reps in, knowing how to make better music. And the best way to do that was just to practice a whole bunch. And so that's just what I did. So by the end of that arc of the journey, I did another big reassessment of myself and figured out that my drums were significantly better than my melodies and my mixing. So for about another 6 to 8 months after that, I really locked in on loops. Through that, I started sending loops out to other people and just kind of getting my name out more. And as my loops got better, of course, my videos got more traction. And overall, just making that one improvement to the one significant hole that I thought I had in my abilities as a producer ended up paying dividends in the long run. So basically what I'm getting at here is you want to assess yourself where you're at as a producer. What are you really good at and what are your weaknesses? And then go to each of those weaknesses, pick which ones you think are the most glaring and address them. If your melodies and your MIDI needs work, go focus on that. If your sound selection needs work, go focus on that. If you need to really lock in your mixing and leveling, do that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something with music. It could be your networking. It could be something with your content creation, just building your brand as a producer. So just anything that you think is a weakness at a career level, I would recommend just going and addressing it. That way you kind of bring all your skills up together at the same time. And overall, it just makes you better prepared for situations and opportunities. And after that, you want to figure out where you want to go. So obviously there's going to be really big picture goals, such as landing a big placement with an artist, getting a platinum record, getting this many streams, those type of big milestone goals, and just set those attainable goals that are kind of on the way to those bigger milestones, or that you feel will be on that way. That way it's easier to kind of track your progress, which then brings me into how are you going to get better as a producer and also build your brand and do all these things while you're doing something that's full-time. The biggest thing for me, pretty much all of the advice I'm about to tell you boils down into one word, and that one word is consistency. Being consistent is your greatest asset over time. If you're not consistent, whatever I'm about to tell you is not going to work. My biggest recommendation is once you've assessed yourself, you found your weaknesses, whatever you need to do, practice as much as you possibly can, ideally every single day. And it doesn't have to be crazy. You don't got to be cooking up for 3 to 6 hours a day, making beats all the time, every waking moment. That's not really healthy long term, and you're probably going to burn yourself out. What I mean by practice every day is just do a little bit. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Just create something. Whether it's just you're creating one loop, one beat, whatever. I would say shoot for at least 30 minutes every single day. You can have days off, but try to have it as close to every single day as possible just so you can build that habit. Consistency is going to help you improve more than just having the small bursts. So for example, if you're making beats 30 minutes every day, all 7 days of the week, by the end of the week, you'll have 3.5 hours of time that you spent, but you're spending every single day reinforcing that habit and also reinforcing the skills that you're learning along the way, rather than if you just spent 3 hours on one day of that week and just cooked up as much as you possibly can and then just didn't touch FL Studio or didn't do anything else for the rest of the week. So not only one, did you get more volume in, an extra 30 minutes every week, which again, over the course of many weeks or years is going to make a big difference. 2, you're less likely to burn out because you're not just doing things in bursts. And 3, just having that consistent practice is going to reinforce whatever skills you're learning a lot better. And so I like to draw this parallel to pretty much any other skill. The first one for me that comes to mind is playing a sport. You're better off practicing an hour a day, 5 to 6 days a week, instead of just doing one training session that's 5 or 6 hours. Because the one training session, probably about after 2 or 3 hours, you're going to be too tired to really see more improvement. And 2, you're just gonna have that one short burst of where you're doing everything and then you're not doing anything the rest of the week, so you might lose your touch for it, you might forget certain things. But if you're doing it on a day-to-day basis, it's gonna really reinforce the fundamentals, it's gonna reinforce whatever you're learning, whatever you're practicing. And this doesn't have to be something like that. This could be like playing an instrument or cooking, or if you play video games, or even if you just go to the gym and lift. If you do those things in shorter periods of time consistently, it's going to be a lot more effective than if you just did a bunch on one day of the week. So you really have to delegate time for this on a day-to-day basis. Make sure that this gets done. The whole point here is we want to build a habit of trying to improve as much as possible and just stay consistent. And this doesn't necessarily have to be a hard schedule, as in, okay, I'm going to get up at this time, go to class at this time, come home, and I'm going to cook up exactly from 6 to 7 p.m. and then I'm going to eat dinner and go to sleep. It doesn't have to be that crazy. Just fit it in where you can. But the way that worked for me is I would just list out things that I needed to do that day or things that I needed to do that week and just make sure that I accomplish those. And if I'm not, I'd have to change some things around in order to make it happen. And a big part of managing your time is don't overbook yourself. Don't plan on doing way too much in too little of a time. So make these tasks, this list of tasks that you need to do, actually doable. Don't make it like you're gonna do 4 hours of homework, cook up for 3 hours, go to the gym and go to class all in one day, because let's just be real, that's not really what's gonna happen. At the end of the day, the best way to do this is delegate time every single day that you can work on this. It doesn't have to be 5 hours. It could be as little as 20, 30 minutes, but just do something that builds you along this path to being consistent. One main issue with being consistent is getting burnt out. And the best way that I've seen to mitigate this is have measurable goals that you have for yourself on a weekly or monthly basis. So my big thing was I had to upload at least one YouTube video a week, barring anything like too crazy. Like if I got really sick, or if I was having issues with my laptop, or if I had to study for finals, have one thing that you want to accomplish that's a non-negotiable on a weekly, monthly basis, just so it's easy for you to track that you're actually making progress. And so this accomplishes 2 things. One, it allows you to stay consistent because you're holding yourself accountable with a certain task or a certain thing that you want to do. And the second thing is it gives you measurable progress, so you're not just feeling like you're running in the same circle of, oh, I'm just making beats to make beats, or I'm just doing this and I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. Also, one more thing I forgot to cover while I was recording the video is to avoid burnout, you gotta take breaks. You gotta do things that are different. You gotta do things that take you out of your comfort zone every once in a while, or just do something that's not within your regular routine, just so you have something to mix it up. And also, traveling, doing other things may also inspire you too. It ends up being beneficial for two different reasons. One, you don't get burnt out, and two, it may also provide inspiration for something else. But I just wanted to throw that in there because I feel like that was really important, and I forgot to mention it when I was recording the first time. So just to recap, the big key here is consistency, and the best way to garner progress is to have something that you do on a day-to-day basis, whether it's you making one loop every day, one beat, you're reaching out to new people, you're making content, whatever the deal is, do something that's constructive. Now I want to get into kind of the hard truths of this, where everything I said sounds great, it makes sense, you're going to be consistent, you're going to set goals, you're going to go accomplish them. Now I'm going to get to the hard part of this whole process, and that is the sacrifices of this journey. So the reality of it is, if you're working full-time, you're going to school full-time, whatever you're doing, it's going to be a big time commitment. Anything more that you're going to do, especially if you're pursuing music at a business level, is going to require some sacrifices. I'm just going to be honest, I had to sacrifice a little bit of that college experience. In my 4 years of being in college, I could probably count it on less than two hands the amount of times I was out doing something on a Friday or Saturday night with my friends, where I wasn't coming back home and work on something. So the way that my schedule ended up working out is that I would do majority of my schoolwork from Sunday to Friday, and then Friday afternoon and evening and Saturday I would work on making content, which would be uploaded on Sunday morning. So a lot of those Fridays and Saturdays were just spent editing videos, recording, making thumbnails, and just cooking up. I could probably count it in 4 years. I probably went to 3 or 4 parties the whole time. I'm just going to be completely honest with y'all. And there's also going to be a lot of people that may come in and out of your life as a result of this. A lot of the times, the people that you might lose contact with is usually because of a condition. It's because they're tied to that certain distraction, whether it's somebody that you play video games with all the time, whether it's somebody you go out clubbing with, it's somebody that invites you to a party, or whatever the deal is. Those types of relationships might fade as a result of you pursuing this, which isn't necessarily all bad, because I'm just going to be honest, if you're in school, you're in college, by the time you leave, you're not going to be really in contact with those types of people anyways. Another thing that was significant is I had to cut out some other hobbies to make time for music while I was in school. So whenever I was actually in school and not on break, I was pretty much never playing video games, which I did a lot in high school. I mean, that was probably one of my biggest hobbies was playing video games, and that just had to go because music just took up the rest of the time that I had for it. So other things like that, there's going to be other habits that you're not going to be able to do because you simply just don't have time to do it. That's just part of the process. But I will say the one thing that you should not neglect is your health. Go to the gym, eat right, have some sort of activity that keeps you healthy. I neglected that for probably like the last year and a half of college, and I regret it quite a bit. Take care of your physical health, take care of your mental health, but just know that there's going to be some things that you may not be able to do as much during this period while you're building up. I think that's enough of the negative things. I want to loop it back around to the core of all this, which is having belief in yourself and really having faith that you will achieve your goals, you will do better. At the end of the day, on this journey, you're the one that's going to have to put in the work, and you're going to have to be the one that sees things through for yourself. There's going to be a lot of times where other people don't see the vision, and this is more common at the start of things. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I didn't really feel comfortable sharing with other people that I was making videos or making beats probably for a couple years until I thought I was good enough. I'm just telling you from my perspective that I had my doubts, and there's times that I still do, but at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to have to see this through. If you yourself do not believe that this is going to work, it's just not going to work. Again, having doubts is completely normal on this process. Every single person who's walked this type of path before, every single producer, anybody who has been super successful has had doubts in themselves, but you cannot let those moments change your belief in yourself. You got to trust that your consistent work will materialize into something, whether it's in 4 days, whether it's in 4 months, whether it's in 4 years. You're the one that's going to have to see it through. I think that's enough yapping for one video. I just wanted to make something that's kind of different, and I just figured with my milestone of graduating, I could go kind of hand in hand with being able to achieve life goals along with music goals too. And I just wanted to give y'all some of the information that I learned along the way and some of the things I wish that somebody had told me a few years ago. Hopefully y'all find this helpful. Wishing y'all the best on y'all's journey. And that's gonna do it for this video, and I'll see y'all in the next one.